Sam was a grade 12 student who I met when I was volunteering at my old high school in the math classes. He was tall, had long, thick, curly hair, often wore baggy clothes and a backpack. Sam was an introvert, and he didn't get along very well with his teachers. When I first started helping out in his classroom, I was asked to sit and work with him specifically. And what I soon discovered was that he was a very talented artist. During class time, he would pull out his notebook filled with graffiti artwork, and he would showcase his talents to me. Yeah, it was usually during class. Yes, it was usually when the teacher was instructing the class of the day, but we were sneaky about it. What I also learned was that Sam didn't really like school. He thought it was dumb. He said he hated it. He said he hated math. But what I also discovered was that this was the second time taking this math class. So I promised I would be around as much as I could, that we would get through this class together. When we first started the class, he would come in, he would grab a piece of chalk, start drawing his graffiti art on the chalkboard, and get told by his teacher to stop and sit down. And I lost my mic. So he would huff and puff as he would just drag his feet across the floor, pout, and just plop down in the chair right beside me. Those drawings are pretty amazing, I tell him. You're really talented. And I'd see his frown soften a bit. When it was time to start working through the math problems, he would refuse to pick up the pencil. He would say it was dumb, he wasn't good at math anyways, there was no point. So what you're telling me, I tell him, is that you hate math so much, you refuse to do the work. But if you don't get through math this year, you're gonna have to come back for a victory lap because you couldn't graduate. And then you're gonna have to do math a third time. So it makes me wonder, do you really hate it that much? Because if you did, you just get it over and done with. He paused. So I decided, all right, let's start working through the problems. He still gave me no response. He just sat there, arms crossed across his chest, no expression. Okay then, how about I write for you? You just tell me what to write. Nothing yet. Okay, well, first problem. X plus 3 equals 5. So to solve for x, you bring the 3 to the other side, and when you move a number from one side of the equals to the other, you switch the signs. So what's 5 minus 3? Nothing. I don't know. You don't know what 5 minus 3 is? Nope. Do you know what 1 plus 1 is? Pause. I saw him fight it, but it was too easy to not blurt out 2. Ah, so you do know math, I knew it. So what's 1 minus 1? 0. So you know how to subtract. So then what's 5 minus 3? 2. Awesome, you got it. See, you are good at math. You're just being really stubborn. And I finally got a smirk. And the class continued. Eventually, he did pick up the pencil and work through the problems himself. And what I discovered was that Sam was a very, very talented math student as well. He was very quick to pick up the concepts. He worked through the problems so quickly on his own, I couldn't imagine anyone telling him he lacked mathematical abilities. As the classes continued, some days I'd have to be more patient, other days he took more charge, but one thing was for certain was that he was very, very talented at math. So I made a point, as often as I could, to remind him of how gifted he was in the subject. Towards the end of the semester, I had to take a leave of a couple of weeks, but when I returned, the semester was over, but I followed up with his teacher to see how he did in the class. She told me he was one of the top performing students in the class. He ranked top on all of his tests and assignments and had him considered for the math award for the class. Amazing. Amazing, yes, she said, considering a lot of factors. A lot of factors. And what does that mean? So she said when she spoke with her fellow teachers, a lot of them that also had Sam in their class said good luck having him show up to class, let alone stay during class. Typically, after a first day of class, there would be frustrations. He would just walk right out and not show face for the rest of the semester. I couldn't believe this was the same Sam I knew. He always came to class. Have you been a Sam? Do you know or have you known a Sam in your life? Sam didn't need someone in a cape and shining armor, although he looks kind of cool, but he just needed someone that listened, respected, and believed in him. Volunteering has the ability to bring out greatness in the people that you touch. It can mean to the other person that because of you, I didn't give up. Volunteer work allows you to be a hero to someone else. You can also observe the heroic effects of volunteerism in communities. I went to India on a 2-month tour with a charitable organization called Healthy Kids, Happy Kids. India in general was such a fascinating place. I recall staring out as we'd be driving along the highway, observing the beautiful colors of the terrain, and then I also saw a lot of cows. Just walking around, strolling, stopping, casually strolling along these high-speed zones as if they were kings or deities or something. I don't get it. Not a care in the world, just expecting us humans to swerve right around them. And then there were the multitudes of the delicious flavors of the Indian food. I thought I knew what hot food was until I tried the foods of southern India. We'd be sitting at the table, just smiling, enjoying each other's company, as tears soaked our faces from the blazing flavors. I even asked my local friend Sri if he was even enjoying what he was eating, or if he could even taste anything aside from flames, because I could see the sweat beading right across his forehead. And he would just smile and nod as he wiped a tear from his eye. Yes, very good. I don't think I've ever matched that level of hot since. One of the things that I did have to get used to when I was in India was the strong contrast between the opulence of the palaces, the temples, and some of the homes, and then the extreme poverty with barefoot children in the slums. Although we visited many places in India, the majority of our time was spent in one of the southern cities called Hyderabad. And one of the projects that Healthy Kids, Happy Kids is involved with is a vocational college for underprivileged youth. Set up on a dry, dusty terrain, this college admits individuals that are outcasts of society and that live in the slums, but provides them the education to become accountants, engineers, paramedics, to name a few. There were 3 students I really connected to when I was at this college, and they were actually sisters. The eldest of the 3 is Fatima, pictured here in the center. Fatima was a widow at age 20. Because of her religious rules, she is not allowed to remarry. And because she does not have a male counterpart, she's an outcast. Because this college admits individuals like Fatima, she has been given another opportunity to have value and meaning in her life, regardless of a male presence or not. Another very special part of this college is the student participation in volunteering in their communities, and in poor communities specifically. And one of the projects that they work with is free medical camps for poor communities. And I attended several of these camps in which the students gave back by applying their skills to people in need. People would travel from far and wide from all these poor communities to have their fingers pricked to determine their blood types, their hemoglobin levels, heights, weights, BMIs would be measured, eye checks would be performed to determine their vision levels. And then after their checkups, a warm meal would be provided by the student volunteers to all of the people that came for checkups. People joined in smiles and appreciation. And these students, like Fatima, are heroes to these neglected communities. In a 2008 report by AmeriCorps, it states that volunteers feel more civic obligation and are more likely to participate in civic activities such as voting in an election and serving on a jury. It also states that 80% of volunteer alumni are more likely to participate in community service as a result of their volunteer work. Therefore, volunteering can increase people's capacities to lead a more cohesive community. And this was true with a lot of the students that I spoke with at the college, that when they graduated, they wanted to give back to their communities. They wanted to provide free health care and aid to people that would not be able to receive it due to socioeconomic circumstances. One of these boys actually continued on to become a doctor, and he was visiting the school, and he told me that that was actually one of his missions, was once he finished his medical degree, he wanted to provide free medical care to his community. Even when it comes to crime, volunteer work and community service has great power in the reduction of crime. In a study by Kwachi and others, it states that crime is the mirror of the quality of the social environment. Using 2 societal characteristics to measure the level of crime, One is the degree of relative deprivation in society, such as the extent of income inequality. And two, it's the degree of social cohesiveness in a community. And what it found is that there is a strong negative correlation between voluntary membership and burglary, assault, and robbery in the USA. Volunteering actually reduces crime and builds safer communities. Think of the Justice League, just through volunteering. Amazing. Some of volunteering and all the heroic effects it has for other people, it has countless benefits to you, the volunteer. Some of the many benefits of volunteering from helpguide.org include: 1, make new friends and broaden your support network. 2, improve your social skills. Yeah, Twitter works too, but the one-on-one interaction is much more powerful. 3, improve your self-esteem, your self-confidence, and life satisfaction. I actually tried to take some tips from this hot dog, and I was just wondering how cool it would feel to be in his shoes, and he was right. It feels awesome to volunteer. 4, reduce stress and depression. 5, want to live longer? Volunteering actually increases your lifespan. It lowers mortality rates. 6, gain experience in a new career or field without long-term commitment. 7, learn valuable job skills. 8, bring more fun and fulfillment to your life by exploring new passions and interests. And finally, it's called the happiness effect. Oh my gosh, it's so funny. And I went too far. In a 2008 study by Francesca Borgnovi of the London School of Economics, it states that the more you volunteer, the happier you are. Compared with people who never volunteer, there is actually an increase of happiness of 7% for people who volunteer once a month. The number goes up to 12% for people who volunteer every 2 to 4 weeks. The number goes up even higher to 16% for weekly volunteers. This is a hike in happiness comparable to having an income of $75,000 to $100,000 a year as opposed to $20,000. So who wants to feel abundance? I think I do. Several years ago, I was ordering takeout at a local sushi restaurant. There was the smell of fish in the air, and there was also some loud noise coming from a table inside. So I started looking over to see what all the noise was about. And I noticed that it was a group of teenagers just enjoying each other's company over lunch. But there was one boy at the table that caught my attention. He had long curly hair, and he kept looking back at me. And I couldn't help but also look at him. At one point, his eyes met mine. And when they did, he greeted me with a smile. I smiled and I acknowledged him back, but I couldn't figure out who he was. My order arrived, and as I was walking out of the restaurant, it hit me. There's no way he'd remember me after all these years, could he? Sam. Thank you.